In this video, we will be exploring the properties of similarity. And the first way we've learned to create similar figures is by doing a dilation with a scale factor. So let's check that out. If you're dilating from the origin, all you have to do is take the original points and multiply the coordinates by the scale factor. So we see that point A has the coordinates -2, 2. All right, so that's -2, 2. And point B is 4, 3. And point C has coordinates 2, 0. So we have a scale factor of 3/2. So what we need to do is multiply everything by 3/2. So if I want to find the coordinates of a new point that we'll call A prime, I need to take that -2 and multiply it by 3/2. Okay, and I need to take that +2 and multiply that by 3/2. Okay, and I need to do that for all of the coordinates. So I will, for B prime, we will do 4 times 3/2 and 3 times 3/2. And so on. All right, you just multiply by the scale factor when you're dilating from the origin. All right, so let's see what we get when we do that. So for example, if I do -2 times 3/2, that's -3. All right, that means +2 times 3/2 will be +3. Okay, how about if I do 4 times 3/2? All right, that is 6. What if I do 3 times 3/2? All right, that's 9/2, which is 4.5. Okay, we already did 2 times 3/2, so we know that that is 3. And 0 times anything is just going to be 0. So these will be the coordinates of the new triangle. So -3, 3, for example, would be right here. So this will be A prime. And 6, 4.5. Okay, so that's 3, 6, 4.5. That's going to be right here. So this will be B prime, and 3, 0 is right here. So that'll be C prime. So that's how you dilate from the origin, and you'll notice that the two triangles are similar. They have the same shape but different sizes. All right, for problem number 2, we're meant to find the scale factor of this dilation. And I'm going to assume that they mean from the origin. So in that case, I know that we get the new points by multiplying the old points by the scale factor. All right, so the scale factor should be new divided by old. Okay, so for example, look at point A and as compared with point A prime. So point A is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, 8, 8. And similarly, A prime has coordinates 4, 4. All right, so if you just focus on one of those coordinates, like the x value, for example, if I do new divided by old, that would be 4 divided by 8. So that would be 1/2. So the scale factor would be 1/2. All right, now these two triangles are similar, but you have to be careful because they are not oriented the same way. They're not rotated in the same direction. So I like to pay attention to the sizes. So for example, I'm noticing that on the first triangle, the biggest side is 32. So I'm going to circle that one. Now on the smaller triangle, the biggest side is 24. So that means these are corresponding sides. Let's see, let's go for the smallest. So on the first triangle, the smallest side is 20. So I'm going to put a square around that one. On the next triangle, the smallest side is 15. So that tells me that these are corresponding sides. That leaves the 24, kind of the one in the middle. All right, I'll put a heart around that one. And that means that that will correspond with 18. Put a heart around that one. So now I can see which are corresponding sides. Okay, now that makes it easy to identify corresponding angles. So, for example, angle A, I'll put a single mark on that one. That's between the square and the heart. So you see the square and the heart, so that's corresponding to angle E. Those will be congruent. Angle B, I'll put a double mark on that one. That's between the heart and the circle. The heart and the circle are here, so that means it's corresponding to angle D. And that leaves angle C. And you know, I think I'll just leave angle C and angle F blank. So I can make my similarity statement. Don't forget your triangle symbol. A corresponds with E, so I will write E first. B corresponded with D, so I will put D second. And that left C to correspond with F, so I will put F last. Now if I want to find the scale factor, okay, and it says do it as a reduction fraction. All right, so that means that we need to do it so that it's going to be a small number over a big number. Okay, so if we're seeing this as reduction, that means getting smaller, then that means we're supposed to look at this one as the old and this one as the new. All right, we're supposed to imagine that it's shrinking. So if you look at it that way, then the scale factor, which is always going to be new over old, is going to be, now you can just pick any pair of corresponding sides. For example, the 15 and the 20, see the boxes? Those are corresponding sides, so I could do 15 over 20. Now, both of these are divisible by 5, so this is going to reduce down to 3 over 4. Okay? Or you could cheat and use your calculator and do 15 over 20, and you get 3 over 4 that way as well. Okay? Notice they told us it would be a reduction, so you know the scale factor should be something less than 1. So just make sure you did that correctly. All right, we're going to do the same kind of thing for problem number 4. I can tell that this figure has basically been rotated and shrunk, if you look at it that way. So notice the only one that that could be a little bit confusing is A and B, since they're both marked as 90-degree angles. But because of the way this is rotated, A is corresponding with J, and B is clearly corresponding with G. All right, this thing has been sort of rotated on its side, I can tell. So just keep that in mind. So angle A is corresponding with angle J. So I'm going to put J first. And then let's see, angle B, as I said, corresponds with angle G. So I'm going to put that second. Then angle C corresponds with angle H. So that comes next. And then angle D corresponds with angle F. And then that leaves angle E corresponding with angle I. All right, so that's the similarity statement. Now, let's find the scale factor. Just, you can tell, well, they only gave us these two numbers. Luckily, they are corresponding sides. So let's see. This is again supposed to be viewed as a reduction. So we're supposed to consider this as being the old and this as being the new. We're supposed to imagine that it's shrinking. So the scale factor is always new over old. So in this case, that's going to be 30 over 36. All right, both of these are divisible by 6. So this is going to be 5 over 6. All right, or we could have cheated and done 30 over 36, and you get the scale factor that way. All right, for number 5, we are given the similarity statement. So we know that angle A corresponds with angle D. So if angle A is 66, then that means angle D is 66. Okay, so I can go ahead and fill that in. Let's see. We know that angle B corresponds with angle E. So angle E is 73, so that means angle B is 73. And we know that all of the angles inside of a triangle have to add up to 180. So that means if I take 180 and I subtract 66 and 73, so minus 66 minus 73, that's going to give me 41. So that means that the remaining angles C and F are both 41. All right, for problem number 6, we are given two similar triangles. We have to draw them ourselves. So just go ahead and draw two triangles. So I'll call this triangle triangle FGH. Now I'll draw another triangle. And I will call that triangle KLM. All right, I'm being careful to put corresponding angles in the same position just to make my life easier. We are told that the measure of angle F is 48. So I'm going to go ahead and put 48 right there. Now, and we're told that the measure of angle L is 81. So I'll put the 81 right there. And then we are given that FG is 10. So this is going to be 10. And FH is 21. So that's 21. And KL is 35. So this is 35. And LM is 49. So this is 49. Okay. So what can we do? Angle F corresponds with angle K. So that means angle K is going to be 48 as well. So I can go ahead and fill that in. Angle G corresponds with angle L. So that means angle G is also going to be 81. So So I can fill that in. All of the angles have to add up to 180 inside a triangle. So if I take 180 and I subtract the two angles that I already have, okay, so minus 81 minus 48, that leaves 51. So that means angle H and angle M are both going to be 51. Okay, now for the sides. So GH, okay, maybe I'll call GH, I'll put a little X there, and I'll get back to KM. So right now I'm just trying to find GH. So GH and 49 are corresponding sides. Now, I'm going to call the first triangle old, and I'm going to call the second triangle new. All right, so I've got old, and then I've got the new. So when I set up my proportions, I'm always going to do it in the form new over old is equal to new over old. All right, so I'm going to do 49 over X is equal to, and then I'll do 35 over 10, because those are corresponding sides. So 35 over 10. And then I'm going to cross multiply. Okay, so I'm going to do this blue diagonal. I'm going to multiply those. I'm going to do this yellow diagonal. I will multiply those. So that will give me 35x is equal to 490. And then I need to divide both sides by 35. So if I divide by 35, divide by 35. Okay, so 490 divided by 35. All right, that's exactly 14. So that tells me that x is equal to 14. Maybe I'll just squeeze this in right here. But remember, that x was representing GH. So we just found that side GH is 14. So now we will do something very similar for KM. I'll just go ahead and call KM Y. So Y and 21 are corresponding sides. So I'm going to do new over old. So I'm going to do Y over 21. And again, I'll use the 35 and the 10 since I have both of those numbers. So I have 35 over 10. Okay. Now, I normally like to reduce these, the fraction. I didn't do it with the 35 on the 10 on the previous problem, but this time I'm going to do it. I'm going to reduce. So I have y over, whoops. So I have y over 21. Both of these are divisible by 5. So that's going to be 7 over 2. All right, just makes the numbers a little bit smaller. So then I cross multiply. So I'm going to have my yellow diagonal and my blue diagonal. So that's going to give me 2y equals whatever 7 times 21 is. 7 times 21. All right, it's 147. Then I need to divide both sides by 2. So that's 73.5. Okay. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video, click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.